All right, hello, welcome. This is, I believe it's day 373. I believe so. Go ahead and share this live. Let me know how the audio is. Man, it's been a while. It's been a second since I've done a live, but I think in order before I speak on anything else, I think it would be nice to sort of put a bow on the city market season of 21. So hold on, we're just gonna get everything situated. One second, that might. Let me see. Audio should be good, I think. Okay. So I've tried to think, spent about different ways to do this. I've tried to think about what would be the proper way and best way to do this and how to go about this. But I think just sort of just do an overview of the whole season and our motivations and different actions that occurred and how those situations were handled and how they could have been handled better. So city market really starts. City market season first really started when the map get released for city market, and come to find out that they had part of their planning, part of the things that I bet you they schemed up for months, had multiple meeting planning this to shutting down all of East State Street, shutting down from the what is this First and what street is this? This one right here. This is First and State, yeah, this is First and State. From First and State all the way down to the end of the bridge, shutting down the whole street. And I remember when the map got released, it was during art scene, so it was multiple people coming down here and talking. So when the map got released, walking down and trying to figure out what actions could we do. At this point, we were not banned from city market, so different actions where we could be, different areas that where we would be most effective at, where it'd be effective and direct. And it's multiple talks about what we should do, different ways that we can go about this, because the main thing in putting out a series of protests or a campaign like this is, for me personally, I feel like the message is, and the goal is, to get the message across. Get the message across to as many amount of people as you can. It's not really, to me, going into something like this, the most important thing is that can nobody leave this event and not talk about Denzel Duvant? Can't nobody come to this event and just ignore what happened to Faustin Guetigo? Can't nobody go to this event and not have some type of conversation about Jose Gonzalez Jr.? That really is a goal in going to a series of protests like this. Because in times like this, in times where we have issues that have been ignored, and we have issues that have been neglected, and have issues that have been really hidden from the general public, the best things to do is just to take it straight to the take it straight to the people, take it straight to the people it is concerning to. There were some of the moments that felt like a win. Some of the small moments that felt like a win during these protests was seeing families either go to city market or they're in city market, and to have their children point to the signs and ask what it's about. And it was, I'm not gonna lie, it was multiple parents that said some type of lie to their children. It was some parents that just covered their ears to their children as they was walking away. But it was also multiple people who would come up with their families, and their kids would come over and they would hold some signs for a second. It was a few different times this happened. So that really felt like it was a small win, a small success. My fault, I'm all over the place. Okay, so the map get released, right? The map get released of City Market. So we had went down and we had walked around and trying to figure out where we could be. But come, I believe it was May 21st of this year, that was the first City Market. And at the time we were kind of planning for May 30th and planning on what we could do for it to be a year after May 30th and different things like that. So these first two City Markets really felt like a preseason almost. It was raining, it was terrible weather, it was so it was not a lot of people there, and it felt like, and there was really no police interactions those first 2 weeks during City Market. And the first week, May 21st, Leslie had gotten his bond raised, and still to this day, you can't tell me that that's just some type of coincidence that he has his court date on Friday afternoon, and the first City Market they raised his bond. You can't tell me that's some type of coincidence or that just so happened to be that. That is one of the most blatant examples I can think of just that fact that everybody is working together, that everybody is invested in this in some type of way. Okay, my fault. So because that happened, and because that first week wasn't that good of a week, it wasn't a lot of people there, it was real rainy, and just wasn't a good day to be outside really. The action that we had chose is to be in the parking lot of Rockford Register Star, which was not in the permit. And we stayed there for the first week, and personally, I didn't really like it. Personally, I did not like it. Okay, my fault. Okay, the next week would be, again, it would be a terrible weather week. It would be a week where we set up live similar to this setup, Leslie and I, and multiple other people. In the City Market area, in the permit. And this goes to show, like, this would be the first example of if the weather is weather is bad, or for whatever reason there is not a lot of people at City Market, it seems to me like we were allowed to do more. It was certain things that we were able to do because not a lot of people were at City Market. It was certain things that we could no longer do the fuller City Market got. So week 2 being set up like this, that was crazy. I couldn't just the fact that were able to do that felt like a win in and of itself, because I cannot imagine. Last year, I never would have thought something like that would have been possible, and now after going through all of this year and having to be some type of interaction each Friday, I cannot imagine being able to do that again. But after the first 2 weeks, then you get into a point to where the weather was finally good for them. It was a good weather week. I think it was in the 90s or something, to where that felt like it's week 1. It felt like it's going to be a full crowd. It's a lot of people there, and usually what that means is more people can get the message across to. So in preparation for that week, it was early in the morning, before the permit went into effect. Chalk was written down on all of State Street, which would not be really abnormal, really, for something like this to occur. Chalk would be written down all of State Street, and before the permit, and then after the permit as well. So then, And another thing that would happen on Fridays regularly, my fault, I should have touched on this earlier, was city employees, the same city ordinance workers, would come down outside City Hall and say their name square, and they would tear down and they would cut down each memorial in this square. And that just go another example to show you how many people are invested in this. And when you see that that many people are invested in something, you have to look at it as to why are they invested in, how are they invested in this thing. And when you see that people in power, Tom McNamara is having city of Rockford employees come down and cut down photos, cut down pictures of people who have been killed by the police. You see what they're trying to hide from the people. The most blatant example I can give you of how they are trying to hide this message. Going around the City Market area, cutting up photos of Denzel Duvant and throwing away memorials. It is the most blatant example I can give you of them just flat out telling on themselves for their racist actions that have occurred, that have been happening for decades. My fault. My fault. Yeah. So during this week 3, I think I was chalking up here somewhere. I don't know where I was chalking, and somebody had came up and said that they're cutting up photos of Denzel. They're cutting up photos of Denzel, and this was after City Market. I believe this must have been in like 4 o'clock. This started happening. So I went and I grabbed my phone and I went into City Market and I just began to film them doing this action, because I believe if a city of Rockford worker is doing something, it should be public. It should be known to the people what is happening during this event. So if you have a situation where these employees are going down and they are cutting up photos of Denzel Duvant, I believe that the regular community members of Rockford should know that this is happening, know what their government is doing, knowing what the people in power are having these ordinance violation workers do. Okay. And while I was doing that, it was Metro. I had multiple interactions with him before this, and multiple interactions with him since this. He would come up to me and he would put his hands out and he would touch my chest and try to push me away, keep me at arm's length away, and he would say that I cannot protest in here, that I cannot protest in there. And what I say and what I feel like is still true to this day, that I don't feel like I was protesting at that point. I felt like all I was doing was highlighting and videotaping what the city of Rockford is doing. I don't believe that is a protest. I believe it's more of a protest for the city of Rockford to have its employees to go down and cut down photos of Denzel Duvant. That's a protest to me. That's them saying that they don't want this to be here. That's them saying that they don't want nobody to know about Denzel Duvant. That's them saying that they don't want nobody to see this picture. And they especially don't want nobody to see that video of that man being beat. That's what that's telling. That's what that is. Recording these people doing that. That's not a protest. And these Metro enforcement agents would actually follow these City of Rockford workers all the way up to City Hall, make sure that they were okay. And at that point, I felt the situation was done, so I had no thought after that. After they got done cutting them up, I just left them alone, and then I went back to chalking in the area. And then while we was there, while we was chalking, it was music being played, and music being played on the speaker. And this is in week 3 of City Market, of the City Market season, would be the introduction to Joel Givens. Joel Givens, he is a new assistant deputy chief, the commander of District 1. And this would be the first City Market really, or I don't even know if I really remember him from last year, but so this is the first City Market that he's in charge of, week 3. And he, while it's chalk being written by multiple people, and it's music being played, he would come up and he would sort of introduce himself, and he would, this would happen multiple different times where he would come up and he would say something. So he would sort of just introduce himself, then just go and stand over in the corner somewhere and just look. And then at different points in this, they would say that they would try to tell us what we can and we cannot do. They would try to, and those things would change every time. So it would say, I think the first thing he said is there couldn't be no sirens in the permanent area. There couldn't be no sirens. That's what he was trying to say. My fault. I'm trying to read these comments. I don't got my contacts in. So this would be his first interaction. So we would say we couldn't have no sirens inside the area, inside the permanent area. And then he would say during this interaction with him, he would say that the music was fine, that the music was okay. And in fact, I think I even remember him saying that he liked some of the music that was being played, if I remember correctly. I don't know how y'all want to take that. So after he say this and can't be no sirens, then it was megaphones placed outside the permit area, and those megaphones played the siren, to which he didn't really say nothing to. But then at a different point he would come up and then he would say that we can no longer play the music anymore. And then it gets to a point to where it's twice now he said you can't do something. It's twice now that he that the rules have changed. What you can and cannot do have changed. What he's on record, he's on video, he's on some sort of tape telling us that, my fault, telling us that the music is okay, that he even liked the music, that there was no problems, we couldn't get in trouble for music. Now he would say that the music need to go. They're saying that the music is a protest. So then after that, we just continue the chalking. And then at that point he say that we can no longer chalk, that nobody can chalk, that if anybody does chalk, that they'll be arrested. So the next time he come up, then he go and he get a phone call. And at the conclusion of that phone call, I don't know who he was on the phone with, but at the conclusion of that phone call is when Leslie and I would be arrested. I'm not sure exactly. Maybe it was a state's attorney, maybe it was another cop, Metro, I have no idea. But at the conclusion of that phone call is when Leslie and I would go in handcuffs. And the story would be, and the allegation would be, and this is just so blatantly false, such a blatant lie. The report would say that Metro enforcement agents came up and told us that we were banned and that we needed to leave, and they had gotten to some interaction with Leslie, which never happened at all. So blatant lies. But we'd be arrested for this. And then Joel Givens had his big lines. He came up and he had said that how did he say it? He said, "I just want you to know that the Rockford City Market has banned you from their events." So what that meant is we can no longer step foot onto the permit area. That meant that we can no longer just walk through City Market from Fridays from 1 p.m. to I think it's 10 p.m. From 1 p.m. to 10 p.m. we cannot walk down State Street. We cannot walk anywhere in the permit area. And we'd be essentially arrested for writing in chalk. Essentially arrested for writing. And what was written in chalk at this time was these names that are on these poles right here. Names of people have been killed by the police. So essentially arrested, week 3, arrested for writing in chalk. So from there, from the next week, we would go, and because we cannot step foot in the area, we had to think of another way to take action, another way to protest this event in some type of way. So then it became a situation where, okay, did we go back to the Rockford Register Star parking lot? Did we go back there? Or did we go to another place, somewhere we haven't been before? What should we do now? And I believe it was actually on the way there, we had stopped and seen the setup to where it's a ledge. What I believe it's some type of chocolate shop area. I'm not sure exactly. Some type of thing down there, right across the railroad tracks. And just be out there and have the table set up, and which this all outside the permit area, and to be on the ledge right there. And this is where being on the ledge was multiple different. It was very I'm not sure I'm not sure that there is one word to properly explain it, but it was multiple times being on the ledge where, because it's in an area where really people got to come to you, even though it's I would say it flowed pretty well, but people really got to come to you to really fully understand and hear what you're saying. So where it would, especially during this week and the next few different 3-4 weeks, it would be a lot of people who would come up just to antagonize. There'd be one woman this week who would take one of the pamphlets just to throw it away in front of us. And it was multiple interactions like that where people would come up and they would try to get into some type of back and forth and get into some type of exchange and argument and really just highlight and showcase their own racism. And really, to me, what I always felt like in that situation is to get into some type of confrontation, to get into something like that, that's not why I'm there. That's not the point of me being there. That's not my goal. That's not what I want to do. That's not. I don't go into some type of protest or some type of demonstration and think, okay, how many confrontations can I be? How many people can I argue with, or something like that? My main goal, my main message, my main goal is to have the message be spread and to have more people talking about Denzel Duvant, have more people aware about Faustin Ray Tico. So in a lot of those early interactions, it would be, I remember it's be a lot of just drunk older white people just trying to get into some type of engagement. And again, at that point, I feel like it's certain conversations that don't that don't need to be had anymore. It's certain things that don't need to be discussed or need to be there needs to be a conversation about. So for the most part, there were some times where it didn't go that well, but there was sometimes, for the most part, my fault. For the most part, I tried to just stay out of any confrontation and just continue with the message, continue with the demonstration. But again, as I said earlier, that even though it was a lot of, and my fault. Even though in the beginning it was a lot of older people just being antagonistic, in the later weeks it would be a lot more of the younger people coming by and listening. A lot more people going out of their way to stop and listen and to pick up a pamphlet and come over and hold up signs and ask what's going on. And really, I feel like the distribution of the pamphlet really might be the most successful thing that City Market did this season. To know that people can't go to this event and that people went to this event and they learned what the city of Rockford has been keeping from them. They learned something new that they didn't know. They had to confront and they had to face these issues that have been going on in Rockford. They've had to face these issues that the city of Rockford has tried to hide from them. But at some point, just being on the ledge, my fault. I got one more thing to discuss before I getting off the ledge. It was warrants. That's another tactic that the city of Rockford would do, and the state's attorney would do as well, where it would be warrants that would be issued on, and these would be exactly issued maybe around like 4 o'clock on a Friday, where I believe one time just sitting down right in front of City Hall, they came up and they pulled me out my chair. Another time I was just walking the perimeter trying to figure out where we're going to be, and I got arrested on a warrant. These happened multiple different times, so where I believe almost a month straight it would be warrants on Friday, warrants for to try to keep people from participating in this demonstration, try to keep people from talking about Denzel Duvant, and to keep people from talking about and highlighting the issues that happened during City Market. Because really, I feel like we're in a place where I don't feel like we're in a place. I feel like we should be in a place as Rockford community members, Rockford citizens, that we can't talk about City Market without talking about the 12-year-old girl that got pepper sprayed. We can't talk about City Market without talking about the women that were abused by police officers last year. We can't talk about these issues without discussing the truth and what really happened, what has really been going on. We can't talk about City Market without talking about the multiple black people and people of color who got denied entry into City Market. My fault. I'm trying to find this pen. So then I feel like really being on the ledge, it was more of, out of those first like 3 or 4 weeks, it got to be a really almost an educational session, to where it'd be multiple people on megaphones and just explaining what has been going on. Multiple people on megaphones and talking about the people on these poles right here, talking about the history of Rockford. And it really got to a really educational session. And that was really, that felt like a win too. That felt like a win too. The more we felt, the more people that came up and stopped and listened, and the more people that, it was so many kids. That's the crazy thing. It was so many kids that came up and came up with their parents, came up with their whoever, their guardian, and would stop and listen, sit down, and grab a sign, and really just trying to. I can't think of a bigger contrast between the kids that came over and got signs and the white kids who parents just ushered them out. I can't think of a bigger contrast. So after being on the ledge, it got to a point to where, even though it was some things being accomplished while we was on the ledge, we had multiple conversations about how we would be most effective, how we would be most direct. What is something that we could do that would include more people, it'd be more inclusive, and it would still highlight these issues and still showcase what has been going on. And for that reason, it was a decision that was made to no longer be on the edge and to go in the crosswalk of, I believe that's First and Markkket. I believe that's First and Markkket, right out the corner. I don't know what that other business is right there, but it's Trinity Church, Holy Trinity Church, and that crosswalk right there. And part of it was, let me get this water right here. It was important that it was a direct action. It was important that it was something that more people could be involved in. It was more things for people to do. It wasn't just standing on a ledge just talking. It was something that invited more people. And that's really what it did. As City Markkket continued, our numbers would grow from walking on the crosswalk to then they were just standing on the ledge. And I feel like that was a success. I feel like that was a win. Having more people involved and having more people, the more people you have involved, the more people they can talk to, and the more people they can spread the message to, and the more people they can have talking about it. So what would happen during the crosswalk season is, really for the most part, our first interaction with the police would be ordinance violations, and those would occur during while we was on the ledge, during our time period on the ledge. But what it grew to be, and it ended up being during City Markkket, was not only would they give you an ordinance violation, but they would take the megaphone and any megaphone in the area if you had gotten a noise citation. And the noise citation would mainly stem from if you was playing the siren in any type of way. But I'd say maybe for being on the ledge, the biggest win wasn't necessarily one moment. It was the amount of people that would come by and listen, and the amount of people that would pick up pamphlets. Being on the crosswalk, I would say the biggest win is probably the week where, I forget the exact week it is, but the week that it was 3 lanes of traffic down here during the protest. It was a week where it was cars. Let me see. Let me try to figure out how to properly demonstrate. Cars on East State Street. No, my fault. Cars on First Street. Right. Then cars that were on this way going. Oh shit! They're going the wrong way. Shit. There's a lot of people going the wrong way down the one way. So it'd be cars on First Street, then it'd be cars that would leave First Street, leave this line of First Street, and they would go on to the opposite side of traffic, and they would start a new line of traffic on this side. And eventually, not only would these 2 lanes be like this, but another lane will pop up to where it'll be 2 lanes on First Street, 1 lane. Okay, they got over. Okay. And one lane going the opposite way. Then while that was happening, while these cars decided to do this, it was also cars coming this way down First Street to where they can no longer get over. They were stopped from getting over because it was cars in the opposite lane of traffic. And it was also cars in on Market Street that were trying to turn left, and traffic was really just completely stopped due to these 3 lanes. And as important as having a demonstration that is informative, that is educational, it also is necessary. It also is important for that demonstration to be. It can be important for the. My fault. Let me say this right. It can be necessary for a demonstration to be disruptive, because that's really what it takes for some people. That's really what it takes to disrupt the status quo. A lot of times, my fault. Too often, people during this, especially once we move to the crosswalk, would say, "Oh well, you're not doing it the right way. You got to find a different way. You got to come do it this way. You need to talk and do this." But really, what you have to think about when people say that is, a lot of people have been doing these things and nothing has changed. A lot of people have been doing it the way that you're talking about, and nothing has changed. So while y'all keep just doing the same thing, it's going to be people over here that are being disruptive. It's going to be people over here that are not letting the status quo go on. It's people over here that are facing these issues and confronting these issues face on. It's people over here trying to spread this message and to get this message directly to the people. So during these 3 lanes, it would be people that would continuously walk the entire lanes of the crosswalk. And during that week, even though it was multiple people that was so angry and agitative and aggressive about their driving, it was also people that drove through with their fist raised. It was also people that drove through playing "Fuck the Police" or some type of music that was, I guess, supposedly wasn't some type of coincidence that they were playing. And another thing that really kind of was crazy what would happen, especially the later we would go into this, it was the aggressiveness in the drivers would amp up. The aggressiveness and the anger inside them would amp up. It was multiple people who would swerve through traffic, swerve around people that would honk, almost hit people. I don't think nobody was really hit. Yeah, I don't think nobody was really hit. I was brushed one time. I was walking in front of a car, and they just continued to go. They just pretty much just let their foot off the gas and just kind of brushed up. Okay. And during this, it was also we got more people involved in terms of other protesters and other activists, I guess you could say. But it was also a slight pickup in people just walking by and saying something some type of way, walking by and asking a question, walking by and asking who's on that sign, or a question like that. And it still had, of course, several instances where people were antagonistic walking by and people were looking for some type of confrontation. But again, the same point would come from the main goal is to spread this message and to make sure that everyone coming to this event has to talk about and has to confront the police terrorism that has occurred in this city. So, uh, the biggest win would be that. The biggest win would be the three lanes and being disruptive as that week was. And comparatively to last year, the finale of it didn't have the same type of feeling. The last city market was a feeling of, let me see. The last city market for me, it felt like there was a goal to do, was something that that could be done, a direct action, a new direct action that could be done that hadn't been done, and could be effective and could work. So there was a sort of cathartic feeling when that moment was achieved. And this week, it felt like there was nothing really for that one moment to be done. So it sort of the last 2 weeks felt to me personally like it was just a test into what next year would be. It felt like the last regular season games of the year. That's really what it felt like. Just seeing what will work next year. What would, if the setup is the same, what would work? What would be effective? If they change it up a little bit, where can we be? If they don't shut down all of State Street, what does the plan become then? If they do, and what if happens if they expand these perimeters? What can we do then? So that's really what those last 2 weeks felt like to me. And of course, I feel like it was multiple measures that people would take to protect themselves from these cars that were being increasingly aggressive, increasingly trying to harm or injure somebody. So it was multiple things that people did to protect themselves. And by the nature of things, by the way of things, arrests would be made. And
none of these measures that people took to protect themselves are illegal. Everything people
of course, yeah.
wearing was perfectly legal.
And getting no. So my fault. So at this point, when arrests were made on the crosswalk, at that point we had already gone to a place to where this was after the 3 lanes week. It was a little bit after they had taken the megaphones for the first time. So it felt like really the feeling leading up to that week. It felt like they were getting sick and tired of how successful we were being. They were fed up with the. Really, it felt like they was angry that it was a week as successful as the 3 lanes week, and they was just waiting for their lick back. They were just waiting, and that tension was just building and building and building. Again, we have to think of that. These are people who use force on a daily basis. These are people who use force thousands of times per year. So, by the nature of things, these are violence workers. So when we have a situation like this and where they see something that we are doing is working, they need to put their hands on it and say that, oh, it's not working. Look what happened. They need to put their hands on it and muddy it up and dirty it up. So where try to silence it and shut it down to where nobody can do it again, or the people who are doing it stop doing it. So what would happen is it was arrest that was made, and I got a concussion as a result of my arrest. They had put. I don't really. For the time and the weekend that I was in there, I was trying to think and remember about when it happened. I could not remember the events leading up to it. I just remember the pain in my head. But after I got out, I watched the video, and I remember exactly. Like I watched the video. I remembered that. I remember the feeling of the pain of my head being pushed onto the top of the door, and as soon as I get there, and I walked through this and explained this already in the video that I had done after I got out of jail. But after I had gotten to a point to where I could talk and I was know what was going on and know that I because I've had multiple concussions and know what a concussion feel like, that I have a concussion and I need to be treated and for a concussion, I would tell everybody in that building that I had a concussion, and everybody in that building that I had a bump on my head, I have a concussion. At multiple times I would be throwing up, and just overall feelings of dizziness and nausea. And what I found out today is in the police reports that was written for that week, they said that nobody reported any injuries as a result of that week. That no injuries are reported. Nobody complained of any injuries. That's a on the record statement. That's in their reports that nobody complained. Nobody reported any injuries. And this is something that I truly believe and I think happen on a daily basis. I think that it's some type of use of force used here. I know for a fact, I know for a fact that there is use of force used here on a daily basis. And I believe that it is abnormal for somebody to say, it isn't abnormal for that to be the case. It's abnormal for, I would think that anybody working in the jail, anybody invested in the jail.
I think there's an argument that policing uses force as something that's foundational to the occupation. That
Absolutely.
policing inherently uses
It's meant to be violent. It's meant to use force. It's meant to exert that energy. So after the rest week, it would be the 2 weeks where it felt like we were just preparing for the next season. But so overall, I guess I would say when going into anything, you will expect the highs and lows. You expect things to go your way, some things that you prepare for to go right, and you also expect for new things to happen and things that you didn't expect and things you didn't prepare for, and you have to handle those moments as they happen, as they unfold. But I do think that as much as last year felt like a win, and we're in a place where this year where it's only 12 people who still have charges being filed against them, and I believe 2 of them are from arrests that occurred this year. But the vast majority of people who have been arrested last year, their cases have been dropped. So as much as last year felt like a win, and even feels like a win more as we see more and more people's cases being dropped. Now I feel like this year, when now we're like, in this year we can be in a place where it wasn't an uptick, it wasn't a large amount of people that had been arrested, but it was also, so that was a win. That was a win for us. It was noise citations that was given. It was megaphones that were stolen. It was, but it was also multiple people that came up and grabbed pamphlets. It was multiple people that came up and asked questions. It was new people that participated in these protests. It was so with that and all things considered, that it was educational, that it was informative, that this was a demonstration that achieved those goals, you have to leave it and say that it was successive. You have to leave it and say that I really believe that there is no way that somebody can go to City Market and not know that it's being boycotted, and not know about the people that were abused last year and the people that were abused this year, the people who were falsely arrested this year and last year as well. So that is what we really have to come to a place as Rockford, where we can no longer just look at these issues at face value. We have to lay all the cards on the table. And when you lay all the cards on the table for City Market, you see, when you lay all the cards for City Market on the table, when you look at all the facts, when you look at all the things that people have done who are invested in City Market, when you look at the actions that people have taken who run City Market, when you look at their actions that they have taken, you realize that you should never go to City Market. You realize that there is a damn good reason to boycott City Market. You realize that there is plenty of evidence, plenty of proof, plenty of things and reasons why that you should never attend this event. Boycott City Market 2021. That is true. That is true. That is true. I'm sure that. Okay. Boycott City Market. Boycott City Market season 21. What else? I'm trying to think about how to close it. What do we got going on? Subscribe to the newsletter. The newsletter will be out tomorrow. Subscribe to it. It's going to be weekly, I promise. It's going to be weekly. Subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor. Subscribe to the podcast. Check out the podcast. And also on Halloween, we're going to be set up down here like we always are, but have candy passing now and pamphlets as well. One last thing as we enter tomorrow, it is the anniversary of the murder of Logan Bell. So rest in power, Logan Bell. As you go on today, just have some thoughts about Logan Bell. Rest in power.